What's up, party people? It's Keys Dan with RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com, coming to you live and in living color from the Radio What studios. And this is my podcast, What Makes You Famous? It's an extension of the RadioWhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need DJ services, where do I always send you? DJLittleRock.com. One more time, DJLittleRock.com. Check availability and get a free price quote, and maybe you could have me at your next event. Yes, I like to party with the people. The people need to be entertained. Are you not entertained? Make your next thing a big one. Man, I've been booking a lot of weddings. Oh my goodness, I've been booking a lot of weddings. I'm so happy that the weddings are coming back. Oh yeah. The people, they need to celebrate their love, celebrate their unions, and I get to be a part of those days. I appreciate that so much. Now, speaking of entertainer, today on the program I have Salt House Lavish. That's Dr. Lav. He didn't spend 6 years in musical school to be called Mr. Thank you. That's a little hint. Who is Dr. Lav? What is Salt House Lavish? Well, you're going to find out more in the next few minutes, so stick around. This week's shows, as we're breaking out of coronavirus quarantine, I have one public show. Yeah, Friday nights at the Rab in Conway, Arkansas. R-A-B, Conway, Arkansas. If you pass it in your rearview mirror, it's going to say bar. You see how smart they are? It's the video dance party karaoke jam Friday night at the Rab. It starts at 8 p.m. and we go until 12:30 or so. I think we have to be outside the door by 1 o'clock because everybody knows coronavirus attacks after 1 o'clock in the morning. Is that scientific? Is it political? I don't know. We have to be out the door by 1. But it's always a good time at the Rab. Full bar, kitchens open, pool tables. They got a pool tournament on Friday night. So if you want to try your hand at playing pool, make some money playing pool while you're waiting to sing on stage, you can do so at the Rab. Friday night, karaoke time. All right, let's get into it with Dr. Lav from Salt House Lavish. Now, I got him on the Skype, so if you're listening to the audio version of this, I encourage you to check out the video version. That's youtube.com/user/KeysDan, or just look up Keys Dan on YouTube. You're going to find 3 YouTube channels. It's the one with the Radio What logo on it. Yeah, that's where I put my podcasts and the radio stuff. All right, let's get into it with Salt House Lavish, Dr. Lav, Skyping Dr. Lav now. Hello, Keys Dan, the What Makes You Famous podcast. Hey, if you'll turn your phone sideways, it'll fit into my broadcast software. Look at you.
There you go.
Perfection, the beauty, the handsomeness. I'm Keys Dan. You're Dr. Lav from the Salt House Lavish. Tell the people who is a Dr. Lav and what is a Salt House Lavish.
Well, Dr. Lav is it's just one of those names that I go by. I'm a musician. I've been a musician for 30 odd years now. Play bass predominantly, but play guitar and piano, keyboards, everything like that. And the Salt House Lavish thing is just a musical project that I put together about a year ago, something like that.
Well, I know you're going to tell me that you don't have an accent. I have an accent. Where do you find yourself these days? Where are you from?
I'm from a little town in the northeast of England in the UK called Stockton-on-Tees. Population about 200,000. It's not that small really, but it's a nice little place.
Yeah, that sounds like a respectable sized town. Okay. Going to the music, and I guess growing up in a town, a medium sized town, I'm listening to your tunes on YouTube. And you're making some groove music. What's inspiring that kind of groove music? Because you're not a vocalist. It's mostly a little like low key, maybe some bedroom music. How would you describe your music?
It's kind of an amalgamation of 30 years of being in the music scene. Although it's a fairly small town, it has got quite a lot of large musical roots. We used to have a venue in Stockton called The Glow, which was one of the places where the Beatles played, Rolling Stones, Tom Jones, all these guys. So it's got quite a musical heritage.
Who are those guys?
All those inspirations.
For the people that are listening, who are those guys?
The Beatles. You must have heard of them. The little band from Liverpool, just down the road.
I was once DJing a party, and this is probably going back maybe 20 years ago. Not extremely in the recent history, but there was a girl that came up to me and said, "Hey, was Paul McCartney in another group before Wings?"
Oh, she must have been quite young then.
It hurt my neck. It really did. It really did. But growing up in a town where all these music, greats were going through, what was your inspiration? Who bought you your first 45? And for the kids listening, a 45 is a record that usually has one single song on each side. And for the kids, a record is made of vinyl. Oh my goodness! Explaining to the children sometimes.
Now, Dan, obsolete.
Well, you'd say, but some of the kids are buying records. I don't know, for the fun of it, for the love of it.
It keeps trying to make a comeback, doesn't it? But it's never really getting there. I think DJs are doing this, but I gave up. To Spotify now.
Yeah, I gave up my Techniques, which are our record players, turntables. I gave those up in 1999, and I never looked back.
Man.
I never looked back.
Yeah. I'm the same. I've come from that generation of turntables and cassettes. But yeah, it's easy now with Spotify and Apple Music, things like that. You can just find stuff you'd never have been able to buy in a shop because they don't sell it anymore. So yeah.
Well, before
my first 45. So let's go back to that. The first record I bought was Arena by Duran Duran, of all people. 1983 or 84, something like that.
Familiar with Duran Duran, loved their music. I had all their albums. I don't quite remember all the tracks on Arena. Was that Girls on Film? Was that Hungry Like the Wolf?
No,
that was just after.
It was the one before that. Yeah.
Yes. What tracks were on that album?
Oh, do you know, you're going to push me out when I can't for that.
Okay.
I can remember.
No, well, you always forget. I mean, you always remember your first album. I'm class of '86. I grew up in the '70s, and I remember my first 8-track tapes. The first one was the three that I had was the Eagles, the Greatest Hits, the Stevie Wonder's Superstition, and Steve Martin's Wild and Crazy Guy. So those are the first 3 8-tracks that got sent to me. But the first 45 that I had was the Bee Gees, Got to Get the Message to You. That was the one that I remember playing. Oh, great song! And that's those are kids out of was it Australia? Is that where they started? Yeah. And I know I'm from Miami, and Barry Gibb lives really close in South Florida in Miami. So I'm brushing with them. I've had his one of his backup singers on the podcast. So I said, if there's any way you can let Sir Barry Gibb know that you had a great time on the podcast, please, by all means.
Absolutely. You've got to try, haven't you?
But you've had brushes with greatness. You say you've been doing this for 30 years. What year did you graduate high school?
No, blimey. 1990.
1990, okay.
Yeah.
So we chewed a lot of the same dirt musically. I'm class of '86, so you had to have had some formative years in the '80s. But you say that Arena was the first album, '89.
I mean, to be fair, it was the first album that I bought that I could, with my money, that I paid for.
Right.
But the first album that truly influenced me was a George Benson album, Breezing. I don't know if you remember that one.
Very instrumental. I mean, you did. George Benson was great.
Guy.
Yeah, he's great. You know, he has that little scat, but mostly it's about the music. It's got a lot of bass to it. Is that where you learned how to pick the bass, or was that
pretty much
where you got your love?
That's where it all came from. Yeah, I mean, it was literally the song "Breezing" that really got me into it when I was about 13, 14, something like that. And I think my uncle bought me a guitar, a little classical guitar, and I found a thing with it, and then I didn't play for a little while. And I think when I was about 15 or 16, I had a friend who had a bass guitar, and I bought it off him. And then I was from that point onwards, I was in bands for years, playing all sorts of stuff, like a lot of jazz stuff, a lot of blues stuff, and then some sort of funk grooves and all sorts, really.
Yeah, but who bought you the George Benson album? And then we'll move on.
It was actually my auntie. She loaned me it.
You know,
she was really into George Benson, but she was into the later period George Benson, the sort of the pop vocal stuff. But Breezing was like a crossover album where it was a bit of the pop vocal stuff, but more the jazz guitar side.
So he's making that turn to where he's heading to a whole nother level, but he hasn't quite made that turn. So you get the best of both worlds. George Benson. Okay, I like to know the little tent poles, the little turning points. So before you got your medical degree, and became Dr. Lav, these are the beginnings. Where you're getting your education, music-wise, and you got the guitar. I'm guessing an acoustic guitar, saying classical.
It was, yeah.
And did you get any formal lessons, or did you teach yourself?
I didn't at the time. I went to guitar lessons when I was about 16 for probably about a year or so, because I just wanted to know the theory side. I wanted to understand the fundamentals of how things fit together. And I did that for a while. But I wanted to learn the theory side specifically to give me that background so that I knew what I was actually playing rather than just jamming about.
Well, what is the theory side? How does that help somebody?
It's all the chords and the notes and where they fit into, like, for instance, your scales. Each scale has 8 notes in it, and each note is derivative of a chord. So it was all, putting all those sort of things together. I know not necessarily much for a bass player. You don't really need to know all that stuff. But if you want to get into sort of playing jazz and blues, it kind of helps to understand what chords people are playing on the piano or guitar that you can accompany with the bass rather than just playing the root note. You can jam around with this.
Well, I suppose that there has to be some kind of way, just like reading a book, from what I've been told. And, man, I have guitars. I cannot play that well. I don't know how to read music. I've not even attempted tabs or anything. But from what I'm understanding, talking to so many different musicians, it's like writing a story. Musically, phrases. You even use the same lingo, phrases. You make that sentence with Are you learning stuff from way back? Are you going to Beethoven? Are you going to songs that have been around for centuries? Or are you learning things that are more contemporary?
All stuff, really. I mean, I did a degree in music, and a lot of that was. When you get into your grades, when you do like your grades 6, 7, and 8, it's a lot of Bach and things like that. So you kind of learn all those things. But when I'm at home and I'm learning to play the songs I like, I'm learning jazz, I'm learning blues, I'm learning Bootsy Collins stuff, getting that funk vibe, a bit of everything, really.
Man, I just heard a whole podcast with Bootsy Collins, and from what I understand, he was also on video like we are right now, but I was listening to the audio version, but he was described that he had his star sunglasses and a space background, and he was grooving, man. But Bootsy was a pioneer. I guess he played with James Brown and got fired by James Brown. Yeah, so, but I mean, he had that, I guess, where he had a style of bass playing. What is your style of bass playing? Where do you get your vibe from?
It's from all the jazz guys. There's people like Paul Chambers and Victor Wooten, people like that. It's that whole jazz thing. So when I play, the majority of the music I've got at the moment, there's bits of bass on there, but there's not a great deal. But the style I have is very melodic. It's very musical rather than just thumping away on the groove, just keeping it going. There's a lot of like melody in the playing as well.
I love that you're giving credit where credit is due. These are all you're turning not just me but also my listeners on to different vibes, different people that
I hope
that
so,
have
man.
influenced you. And while they're looking up Salt House Lavish, which they definitely can, put it in your Googles right now, look it up, and then come on back when you've listened to all the good vibes. I mean, this is definitely
Yeah,
music that's you could sit back. You can actually, man, just you've had a hard day. You put on some of
yeah,
that Salt House Lavish, and you're just gonna have a better day. Your
yeah,
blood
yeah.
pressure is gonna go down. Is this the what you've been trying to create since the beginning, or
Kind of,
what kind
yeah,
of
kind of. I
jazz?
mean, one of my other biggest influences is probably Brian Eno, who effectively invented ambient music. It's not the same as what it is now, because ambient music now is more dance oriented, but proper ambient music, which is stuff like music for airports and things like that. It's just a real chill vibe, 45 minutes, 60 minutes of just turn your mind off, relax and float downstream kind of stuff.
Man, who was I listening to? I was listening to a podcast with someone that worked with Brian Eno. Oh my
Oh, was
goodness.
it Harold Budd?
Maybe I don't know if he had anything to do with Roxy Music, but he might. Maybe it's
No,
the
but
stuff from now.
yeah, they became really good mates after Roxy Music, and they've done loads of stuff together. Some really brilliant stuff.
That might have been who
Yeah,
I was listening to. I think he was on the
was it
on
Mark Maron?
Mark Maron,
Yeah, he
absolutely,
was.
and that's who
Yeah,
was
yeah.
also Bootsy Collins was also on Mark
Yes.
Maron recently, and I was listening to that
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
But yeah, a great interview, great history. Talking about those vibes that are getting created. He made me go back and listen to the new stuff now. The stuff that
Yeah,
they're
it's good,
creating.
man. It's good. It's a good album.
It is, man, and me being a DJ, I get to play that stuff in the clubs. And
Yeah.
on Friday night, I have one gig now, one public show.
Right.
Now that we're breaking out of coronavirus, and
Yeah, yeah.
I try to feature the artists, at least the ones that I've been talking to. So there's going to be a Salt House Lavish song played this weekend, and people are
Ah,
going to
yeah,
go,
man.
"What is that?" And I'll say,
Yeah.
Salt House Lavish. My job as a
Ah,
DJ
thanks, man.
is to break out the new artist and put them up
Yeah,
on
good.
display. And hopefully
Ah,
you get a listener or two. So before,
I appreciate it, man.
way back before Dr. Lav, I'm enjoying the beginnings when you're 16 and you have that guitar and you're learning the ropes. But you say you've already alluded to it. You went all the way. You got an actual degree. Was there anything else in high school that you enjoyed doing besides playing music?
Not really, no. I mean, to be fair, the whole school thing for me was a bit of a misnomer. Obviously, it's compulsory; you can't not go. But I didn't really enjoy it too much, and it wasn't until after I left that I really understood education. Not that I'm dissing the school that I went to, but there was a few bad actors in there. So when I left school, I went to college, and I found some teachers who were really inspirational. That's what sort of pushed me forward, really. And I really got into literature, and I did a foundation in art for 2 to 3 years, and that was another big thing for me, really.
See, that's why kids go to college, so they can expand their minds. They can find out, what.
Yeah.
All right, in school, they try to throw you so many different things. What's going to stick? What's going to get stuck in that tool belt? For you, between your aunt giving you the record and was it your uncle that gave you the guitar?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but your aunt and uncle were very instrumental in watering that seed of music
Absolutely,
appreciation, and big ups to them, your family that has helped to cultivate this Salt House Lavish that you've become today. So, what school did you go to for music? What did you get your degree?
I went to Teesside University, which is one of the local universities. They never used to do music courses at all, and they amalgamated with another college, and they took on their music department. And from there, they went on to develop a couple of music degrees. So they did like a few performing arts ones, and did really technical ones, which was all the sort of technical studio side of it, which is the bit I did. So yeah, from spending probably at that point maybe 6 or 7 years playing guitar, I wanted to learn the sort of studio side as well. So I did the music degree was like predominantly studio based.
Well, when you were in school learning things, were you able to? Usually if you go to a dance school, you put on a show. You got a theater school, you put on a show. Well, were you putting together a bands or some kind of musical shows?
Kind of, yeah. There was a few people there we sort of struck up a little band with. We did a few performances within the college, but it never really went any further than that because I was already in bands outside of that.
Oh,
Funny enough, I've just remembered something ironic there. When I first went to school, the secondary school, which is like 11-year-olds, I obviously at this point I obviously had an interest in music, so I went to the music classes. I want to do the music course, and they went, "No, you can't." I went, "Oh, no, but I'm really interested in music." They went, "No, you can't." I was like, "Okay, fair enough."
you can't. Not even the little,
pretty much, yeah.
Not even the little. Don't they give you like little tambourines and stuff that you could smash together? Maybe a harmonica, a recorder.
I think they gave me a trumpet and said, "Can you play that?" And I blew it and went, "No, you can't play it."
But with no instruction, come on, nobody's going to play it on the first day. You're not Dizzy Gillespie, and even Dizzy Gillespie wasn't Dizzy Gillespie when he first started. He had to get taught just like everybody else, or learn on his own. I'm not sure familiar with the upbringing and the journey. But I'm learning the journey with you, man. So, Dr. Lav, when you got out of college, you say you were in some bands. What kind of music were you playing with those bands?
But it was a very ego-driven sort of jazz blues thing. A little trio. We did all sorts of stuff. We did quite a lot of Hendrix as well, actually. But we did like Miles Davis and Charlie Parker, things like that. It's very sort of pretentious for the time because we were only 19, 20-year-olds. But great gigs.
Well, what are the pieces and who? And do you remember who was in the band and who was playing what?
Yeah, the first drummer we had was a guy called Simon. Was one of our friends. Great drummer, great guy. And a guy called Chris, who was the singer and guitarist. And we had a great time. And then Simon left us to join another band, and we got in another lad called Matthew, who was a brilliant technical drummer. And I think we just ran a course with him. And he went, "Oh, well, I'm going to go to music school now. See ya." We're like, "Okay." And then I think we had a little hiatus for a while, and then we got I can't remember the other guy's drummer now. The drummer we had. Well, yeah, we had a few drummers, but it was mainly me and Chris who were the sort of fundamental part of the band.
Well, you're playing bass. What kind of bass are you playing? Upright or electric or what?
Electric. I want a Fender P bass.
And is that a 4-string or a 5-string?
Yeah, four.
Four strings.
Yeah.
And is that the same kind of bass that you're playing now, or do you play something different?
It's exactly the same one that I've had since then. Yeah, I've had it for 32 years now. It's the only bass I've had. It's the only one I can play.
Wow. You go with what you know. For 32 years, you've been playing the same kind of bass. Have you ever picked up an upright bass or looked at anything else?
Yeah. I mean, I've had other basses. I've probably had about, I don't know, maybe 9 or 10 different basses over the years, and they come and go. And this one I've got now, which I've had, like I say, since I was about 16, something like that. It's still the same bass. Different strings, same bass.
Wow, you've gotten some wear out of that thing. Yeah, I have old guitars, but they haven't been played, so they're almost pristine. They're those ones that you go to the local guitar shop and they come in a pack. With there's a guitar with some strings, a strap, and maybe a little amplifier, and go be a rock star. Go on. And no, it never happened.
The thing is, that's how a lot of kids start out over those little things, and then they find a love for it, and then they save up all the pocket money and get birthday money, and they go and buy a better one, and then next time buy another better one, and then before you know it, 3-4 years down the line, they've got a Fender or a Gibson, and they're absolutely loving it.
Man, but you're still playing that Fender PB4. I gotta look that one up. Put that on the list of things to do. So you're teaching people that is a decent bass, and you're able to make that good music. But you say you also got into the producing part. Was that something that you learned in school?
Yeah, partly. Yeah. The university course that I did, there was a lot of sort of technical aspects where they showed you sort of like how the sound waves are formed through changes in temperature and how mixing desks work and all that kind of stuff. It was very technical. And then it was a lot of the time it was just going and working in studios and helping bands out do recordings, and you learn to pick up little bits here and there. And then before you know it, you've produced an album, or you're managing a band or something. You're doing something like that.
Well, is this pre-electronics, or is this using reel-to-reel, or were you going in through Cool Edit, or was Pro Tools still around back then? What year did you start doing the production part?
The first one I did was reel-to-reel, and he also had a secondary DAT tape, digital audio tape, and then. A lot of the studios around me still had a lot of obsolete equipment, which eventually got faded out over time, and then they all went digital. So they had a lot of Soundcraft SSL desks and things like that. The real big, 92-track digital desks.
Yeah, what do you think about making the switch from analog to digital? I mean, I know a lot of the old school guys say, "Oh, it's just not warm. You can fake it, but it's just not warm. It doesn't feel the same."
Do you know, you get to a certain age where you just think to yourself, all them arguments are pointless, because it's still good music. If you still write good music, you record good songs, it doesn't matter what you're recording on.
Yeah, and it really doesn't matter, because it's all going to be spun down to MP3, 128 kilobytes,
exactly.
Or whatever it is, or 192, and you're going to lose half the music, aren't you?
Yeah. It's like Neil Young and Jack White and these people who are adamant that analog's best, and then you listen to them on Spotify, and it's like, what was the point of all that argument?
I think Neil Young still travels with his record-making machine.
I think he does, yeah.
And I saw him on a talk show, and he was cutting an album, live on stage, and then the host held the album up. Here it is. He just made it. It's worthless, but maybe it's a collector's item. What's that?
Yeah, it's a great gimmick.
Exactly. I know that through the years as a DJ, I've done different gimmicks. I think I had when Kodak first came out with their camera that you could put on a dock and it could print. So I said, hey, as an extra added bonus, I'll take pictures for you and hand them out. As a musician, as a creator, as an entertainer, you have to give them that much more. Back in the 80s when I started, it was 2 turntables and a microphone.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Absolutely.
That's it. Yeah. Now we're doing so much more. I mean, you are recording. Do you have your own studio now? At least something that you can make a demo on?
Do you know, I started a little project off about a year and a half ago. I work in my main job at the moment. I'm a chef. I've been doing it about 14 years. And I started a little, we have an open mic night, so we have a lot of guys coming in. We've got young kids, but we have a couple of older guys that come in who are in the maybe 50s or 60s, and they've never been in a studio. So I decided I'd build a mobile studio so I could give these guys a sense of being in a studio and recording something and what have you. So I've spent a couple of grand, built this little mobile studio, and then I did a couple of recordings, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to do my own stuff. So I basically have my own studio, and it's in a guitar case. The whole thing, all digital, and it's fantastic, and that's what all the Salt House stuff is done on.
Well, you've just given the people an idea. A couple of $1,000 and you got your own recording studio. It may not be one of those 92-track stations, but you may not need that for a lot of different applications. This may handle most of the things that you need to do to make a little mixtape. And for the kids, that aren't old enough, a mixtape actually used to be an actual tape. And, you were talking about the reel-to-reel. I know how to splice. That was one of the first things that I learned in broadcast school was how to cut a commercial reel-to-reel. and then put it on a cart machine. Oh,
Yeah, man.
In
That's
fact,
going back, isn't it?
yeah, I was working on a radio station in Miami, Coral Gables, part of Miami, and it was the oldest radio station in Miami. And it still had cart machines and record players and a reel-to-reel. Why? I don't know. It was there, but it was fun to go back. And this is early 2000s, and it still had all this equipment. And we were on the air using cart machines. It was great. Hey, analog versus digital. I mean, that's something. Well, tell me about Salt House Lavish. Where did that name come about, and what does it mean?
Do you know, like I said before, I mean, I listen to a lot of jazz and blues, and I wanted a project name which was, like the old blues guys, like, Lightning John Hopkins and, Blind Lemon Jefferson, that kind of thing. So that's where it came from. Literally, it was a collection of words that evoked that emotion for me of that old blues singer.
Yeah, I think the kids have these generators, these apps. Your Wu-Tang Clan name. You click a button, or maybe it's the first letter of your last name and the first last thing that you ate or whatever, and that becomes your name forever. I think was it? Oh my goodness, the rapper. Childish Gambino. I think that's how he came up with his name, Donald Glover, I think is his real name.
Yeah.
But he came up with his name using one of those apps, and maybe he's sorry that he kept that name, but maybe not. It's a great name.
No.
The two words that go to...
It's built an empire for him, so I'm sure he's not unhappy about this.
Yeah, you can make a brand. I know if I put Salt House Lavish, which I did, I put it in the Google, everything is coming up Salt House Lavish, which is great. I mean, it's nice to build a brand, to build something. But is Salt House Lavish you, Dr. Lav, or is it a group of people?
It's literally just me.
Well, I mean, do you have people along the way that have helped you to create some of the music that you've done, or are you doing it all track by track, kind of like what was Foster the People? Is it Mark Foster or whoever it is that's the lead of Foster the People? That song that is out on the radio. He had a band, but he was making a demo in his living room, playing all the different music, and he sent that to his record label. They put that out, and the rest of his band said, "Hey, what about us?" but he did it all himself. So is that what you're doing?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I'm most of the time I'm sitting in the kitchen, I've got the laptop out, and I'll just be, knocking on ideas back and forward, and then I'll come with the bass line. I'll get some keys. I've got a little keyboard set up next to me, so it's just literally me just going back and forward and just putting bits on top and layering sounds on top, and it's all just me.
And is it all using actual instruments, or are you coming up with beats, or is it like I guess it used to be Fruity Loops, now it's FL Studio? What are you using to make the beats and the drums and stuff?
I use Reason for everything, pretty much. And there's most of the songs have got live bass, guitar, a bit of keyboards in there, and then I'll find a couple of complementary samples, and then I use a lot of the synths in Reason. They're fantastic little products, so I'll use them just to pepper the top of it.
Now, I was listening to some of the tracks, and I was looking. I don't think I listened to all the tracks, but I noticed on Amazon you had one that says explicit, and usually that's only when you have vocals. Do you have any with vocals?
There's that one, which is actually me.
Oh.
In my northeastern accent, and then there's another one on there called I Hunt, which is a sample which. When lockdown first happened, Native Instruments put a little package together with some samples from famous producers and songwriters, just some ad hoc stuff. And then they gave that away for free to people to use, just to come up with something. So there's a track on the last EP I put out, Performance Cancelled, called I Hunt, and that's got some samples on there.
How beautiful is that? We
vocal
used to get
samples.
sued back in the 80s for doing that.
Oh, no,
Grabbing
yeah.
drum beats
I
from the
know.
60s
Yeah.
what was it, the Funky Drummer, I think from the aforementioned James Brown's band, is
Yeah.
probably the most famous hip-hop beat ever made.
Yes.
It's been,
Yeah, either that or when the Lazybirds by Led Zeppelin.
oh,
I think them two are the most used samples in hip hop, aren't they?
oh my goodness! And yeah, we were getting sued left and right for that. And I say we. I had a very small part, because I really didn't start my career until '86. But before that, I was also in my bedroom collecting samples, trying to record stuff on my tape player, and doing my share of trying to rap. But that was a failed attempt. I was much better at playing other people's music. It's what I do, and talking to other people and promoting other people. This is my forte. My life's goal is to expose people to other people. Help people along the way. But who are the people that?
You need more people like yourself doing that, because everyone on my side of it, the sort of musician side, there's too many egos who don't want to really do anything like that, and then you get people like yourself. Who love music and just want to get out there, and there should be more people like that. But
I feel like when I was younger, I didn't help as many people as I should have. But now that I'm 52, as of last Sunday,
no, happy birthday!
Thank you very much. But now that I'm 52, I think when I was 50 is really when I really went full force into the podcast part. But I started to think, you need to help other people along the way, and if there's a way that you can give a voice to those people, hey, let's do it. So Dr. Lav, I'm very happy to be chit-chatting with you and finding out the roots. But I'm very interested in this mobile studio that you have. What are the components that fit into a guitar case? That's great.
Yeah, but the three main parts of it is obviously a laptop. I've got a Native Instruments Complete 6 sound card, which is 6 in outputs, and then I've got a condenser mic. I've got a couple of SM58s just for miking up amps and what have you. And I've got an assortment of leads, bits of bobs, stands, cables, everything you need really. So it's good to go. I can record 2 to 3 people at the same time if ever a trio comes along, so I can get vocals, guitars, and it's a great little piece of kit.
SM58 wired or wireless?
Oh, wired.
Wireless?
Wired.
Yeah, that makes more sense. For $99, you probably have one of the greatest microphones ever made. It's great for vocals and even for miking things. Now, the SM57, people have said that's better for miking an instrument, but I think the 58 does just fine.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a better resonance on the 57 for miking drum kits particularly, but for anything else, amps and what have you, ambient room noise and background room, 58's great.
Good tip. Now, you have a condenser mic. Doesn't that pick up a lot of the room noise? Or if somebody's in a quiet enough room, you can use that?
I tend to use that just for close vocals. So I've got a little, like a little isolation booth thing that just fits on the top of the mic stand if I'm recording anyone singing.
Look at you, Salt House Lavish, man. Are you looking to branch out and record other people? Because you said you tried doing that, and it was a little frustrating.
Not necessarily frustrating. I just I record a couple of the guys who do our open mic nights and give them a little bit of an experience. And then I've done work with another local lad called Thought Trumpet. It was a bit of a sort of punk rock kind of acoustic punk rock guy.
Okay.
Wrote some really interesting songs. He's a solo artist, but he wrote some really interesting songs. So I've recorded a demo and an EP for him. And he's currently just writing some new stuff that I could be recording when we're allowed to out of pandemic again.
Well, you've been in bands, and you're now a solo artist. It's got to be so much easier to be able to pick up on your own and maybe grab a guitar. Now,
Yeah.
besides the bass, do you actually play the 6-string guitar as well?
Yeah. I play guitar as well. I play keyboards. I play drums and percussion. Yeah, bit
Now,
of everything.
do you hit the open mics, or are you still
No.
in that way, or when did you start recording the music as well? Even before Salt House Music, but when did you start laying tracks down, and are those available digitally or otherwise?
No, a lot of them were sort of little pet projects for the people who wanted them. So they gave them to their family and friends. It's nothing that's available online. The Thought Trumpet one, which I did year before last, that's available on Spotify and wherever you can get music from.
Well, I'm looking. Yeah, I'm looking on Amazon, and I mean, I'm seeing you have a lot of tracks out there for sure, but what are the first tracks that you laid down? All right, now I'm on your SoundCloud, and I'm looking at like generally optimistic from
Generally optimistic
from
yes,
2020.
that was the first one I put out. Yeah.
And that's the first one that you put out as Salt House Lavish.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else from before, or is this what you're starting and continuing?
Yeah, I mean, I've got old demos and old recordings we did for bands years ago. But I think I've still got a couple of them, but a lot of them, unfortunately, because they were all recorded on cassettes, I think a lot of them are all missing now, or locked away in a cupboard that no one's allowed to look in, that kind of thing.
No, I understand completely. I mean, I've lost so many things over the years, and I've streamlined every move you make. Streamlines more, So I don't know how many moves you make. But you still in the north of England? Have you been living there your whole life?
Yeah, I mean, I lived in London for a few years. I was in bands down there. I've lived in a few other places, but yeah, I'm predominantly born and bred here. And then after living in a few other places, come back here.
Yeah, I mean, have you traveled with bands or as a solo act? Where has your music taken you around the globe?
In the bands I was in, unfortunately, we only ever in the UK, so we did a lot of gigs around the UK, but not anywhere abroad, unfortunately.
Oh, that's big enough. That's fantastic. Yeah. I mean, but how many years did you tour with the bands?
Oh, from probably about 16 to about 25, maybe.
And it was primarily you and Chris and various drummers?
Yeah.
And do you still work with Chris at all?
No. Well, we're still really good friends.
Oh,
still
good.
Close with each other. But he moved to Scotland a couple of years back, and he's basically rebuilt the house that him and his partner are living in. So he's not been doing any music stuff for a little while. So he's just getting that all set up again now. Hopefully, so in the not too distant future, we can get something together.
Yeah, put the band back together. Hey, life happens, and it's hard to keep 3 or 4 guys together, in a band and try to travel because your life gets put on hold trying to be a touring musician. So I mean, hey, you're footloose and fancy free. You're good on your own, and you say you're a chef during the day. The fat man in me really enjoys that. What kind of food are you cooking?
Mostly Mexican.
I like Mexican.
That's my food of choice. I love it. It's the best cuisine.
Well, give a shout out to the place you work if you want to.
It's called the Crafty Cock.
That's fantastic, and that's Mexican food.
Yeah, we do craft ales, cocktails, and Mexican.
Oh, let's send some business that way. Where's that located at?
It's in Billingham, which is just up the road from Stockton.
That's fantastic. Crafty Cock. All right, put that on the What Makes You Famous walking tour. Do it. Do they know anything about your music? I'm sure somebody knows over there.
Oh, yeah.
Do they play it for you?
Yeah, I've got what, sorry?
Do they play it for you, the ambient music? It should be a good sound for eating.
Yeah, we've had on a few times, yeah. Yeah, we've got we have got quite a lot of playlists which are specific to the sort of pub we have. So I'll fit a few in eventually.
Okay. I mean, well, since this project really started last year, I mean, I don't have the exact start of last year. Were you gigging before this, or was this like a COVID thing that happened?
It started before the lockdown, the pandemic. But I think that just spurred it on really. The first one I put out, Generally Optimistic, was in March, which was when our first lockdown came about. So I've had a lot of time behind because I'm only working a couple of days a week.
Wow.
Doing in the kitchen. So the rest of the time I'm doing music stuff. So
it's amazing how this lockdown has helped the creators just release their juices in different kinds of ways. You can't get out on a stage, so a lot of people have been locking themselves up in their rooms, and like you said, a couple $1,000, get a microphone, a mixer, and a computer, and away you go. Try see where your juices flow. And I'm glad that I'm happy and sad that the pandemic has happened. I know a lot of people have lost their lives for sure.
Yeah, it is.
I mean,
grim.
But if anything good can come out of it, there's definitely a creative flow, and I think the world got cleaner. People aren't polluting as much. What do you what do you think of as we come into the now, when Salt House Lavish first has its seeds watered? I mean, how is the world changing now for you?
Well, I mean, in England, we're still in lockdown. We came out of it briefly last year for a little bit, but we've really been in this same situation since March last year. So we're coming up on 11 months now of lockdown. So
it's got to be pretty grim.
Deal of stuff I can do.
It's got to be pretty grim. You got you're down to 2 days a week. I know my the first 2 months or so, or maybe 3 months, I had no gigs, zero. So I was going through my savings as well, just like a lot of people were. Some people still are. I'm fortunate that I'm at least have the one gig, my one public show, and weddings are coming back. I'm kind of excited about that. Keep going. Keep on pushing. Are you able to get out and play in front of people, or is it that kind of show that you do? Do you have a show that you can get out and perform in front of people?
Not really, no. I've got there's a couple of my friends who do like DJ nights, and I think I might try and sort of build up a little repertoire to do something with them at some point. But I mean, again, we're stuck in a situation now, and we're not really sure when it's going to happen, when it's going to end. Really, the goalposts keep getting moved. So,
yeah, I mean, I'm from Miami, Florida, which is a really big city, and lots of festivals. And South Beach is club after club after club after club. And in my reckless youth, I used to work that, but then I moved to Arkansas, which is more. It's kind of a slow down. It's a smaller place, and I've gotten into the karaoke thing, and that's
right.
People seem to enjoy that, getting up on stage and singing to other people's music, which is I guess everybody wants to be part of the show, and that's kind of an easy way to get into the show. But you're somewhat of a vocalist. Are these songs that you've been writing for a long time, or is this something that's brand new?
No, I mean, most of this stuff's been from probably the last 18 months. And so it's all been done within the last 18 months.
So it took you maybe 6 months or so to kind of get yourself comfortable with what you were doing, and then you laid that first track down, and it's just been going and going. I mean, because after that first track, it is prolific. You must have 20 tracks out there that you've been putting together. I mean, where does all that inspiration come? Is it all from your noggin, or do you have a family that helps you along the way? How's the family life?
Oh no, I mean, the family. That's as it is. The whole music thing is just. If I'm walking the dog or I'm in the kitchen, I'm doing something, I'll just get a little melody. So I'll get my phone out, vocally record a little melody thing, and then I'll go back to it later on in the studio. So, yeah, that's the sort of process, really.
Okay. All right. Well, we're getting that to where that's how when the inspiration comes, everybody's with a smartphone pretty much has a recorder, something a recording device that they can get some of those ideas down, and that's what you do, and then you formulate them into a 3-4 minute song. That's impressive. That's something that comes out of your head, out of thin air, really, and then it gets put out to the world. Man, it impresses me to no end. I have written 0 songs. I have recorded 0 songs of my own, and it just impresses me that someone such as yourself, Dr. Lav, you truly are, truly have your degree in music that you've been working on all these years. So you think you're gonna get back together with Chris and maybe form a band, or is it Salt House Lavish?
I've never ruled it out. Never ruled it out. There's always something potential.
Any other projects that are happening? I mean, as we wind this thing down, any other shout-outs you want to give, or any other projects that you've been working on, or something that's happening soon?
No, I mean, at the moment, I think everyone's in the same sort of situation over here, so we're all still in lockdown. People are beavering away, getting little things together in themselves, so when we get out of lockdown, we can all do something. But I've got... I'm not entirely sure which one I'm going to do at this time. I think I might release a couple of singles over the next few months, or I might just put another EP out. I've got about 5 or 6 tracks ready to go. It's just about which way to do it.
Yeah, Dr. Lav, I'm not even sure what that means anymore. Singles or albums or EPs, pretty much it's put it out there for 99 cents or $1 or $2 or whatever it is. It's singles. Does anybody really make albums and artwork?
I think it's becoming more obsolete, isn't it?
Yeah, that was the fun part of getting an album is you see the artwork on the front, and there's liner notes. There's a whole story about how the band came to be. Oh, look, Dr. Lav started it here, and he went to that school. And look at this, you get a little idea, and it was fodder for me, the DJ that was on the air. Hey, this is a song by Salt House Lavish. The lead singer is Dr. Lav. It's his own project. He puts it all together in his room, and just gives me fodder to talk about. When I'm introducing a song on the air. But if without that, what do you have?
I think that's one of the things with albums now. I mean, that was the thing when we were kids. You get like whatever album it was, and you have a gatefold. You'd have all these images and pictures and stuff inside, and it was fantastic. You read all that as you listen to the music, and it made you feel part of it. Now you go on the Spotify or Amazon and just click a thing and you listen to it, and there's no sort of emotional experience with that. It's all just ephemeral, really.
Yeah, I'm listening to this song because I heard it on the radio, and I have no real connection with the musician, with the people that put it together. Now, Now, for those that are listening to the audio version, I encourage you to check out the video version. I got to know, what is that painting behind you? And what does it mean?
Hang on, I'll just move it up a little bit. It's a Highland cow.
That is a long-haired cow with some flowers in his mouth. Is that something that you made, or is that something you know?
No,
somebody you know?
It's an English artist called Stephen Brown, and he does a lot of paintings of Highland cows. He's got a range of all different names, all different start faces and what have you. It's fantastic stuff.
I like
check him out online.
Hey, if you're going to take the time to hang something up, it better be something that you enjoy. And, man, I appreciate that. That looks so cool. All right, man. Well, I mean, any shout-outs to the people that have helped you along the way, or let's wind this thing down?
Oh, just everybody. Everyone knows who they are. If they're associated with me or been part of my life at some point, they know who they are. They all get slapped on the back, every one of them.
Excellent, man. Well,
there's too many to mention, Dan.
Well, all right. I encourage everyone to look up Salt House Lavish. Just put that in your Googles. Do you have a website?
I do, but I haven't done anything with it because I've been too busy doing the music side. So the website's there's something there, but it needs to be. I need to finish it really.
What's the best way to get a hold of you to get projects together or get a hold of your music?
You can do it through SoundCloud or YouTube or anything like that. Anything where there's comment or feedback or anything.
No, 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 no. I want the ones where they buy the stuff. Where can they purchase? You know, gotta support the artist.
Well, it's all digital, so Spotify or Amazon, any of those, it all comes back at some point. I mean, you don't make money out of music anymore, and I don't do it for money. I do it for fun. But a little bit of kickback here and there, I don't mind.
Yeah, all these artists, hey, all through the centuries have been, I do it for the love of the music. It's not really about the money. You still need a roof over your head, and thankfully you
Oh
can
yeah,
cook, so I guess you get food in your belly. That's a good thing.
absolutely, yeah, yeah.
All
It pays
right.
the bills and it keeps me fed.
Well, I don't want this to be the last time we chit chat. As things progress, as we break out of lockdown, maybe like in the next year or so, if you get some new projects that are going on, I want to chit chat with you again, Dr.
Yeah,
Lav.
definitely, man.
Now,
Definitely.
I usually finish these things off with last words for the people. Now, Dr. Lav, Salt House Lavish, it could be words to live by, maybe something that your grandpa told you a long time ago, or you heard, maybe a mantra you wake up with every morning, or just whatever pops into your head at this moment in time. Dr. Lav, Salt House Lavish, last words for the people.
In the words of the inimitable Bob Dylan, keep on keeping on.
Well, there you have it, party people. Dr. Lav, Salt House Lavish. Look it up. Put that in your Google. The guy's cool. The guy's cool. And that music, you could see, okay, if you listen to the Salt House Lavish music, you'll see how the jazz greats have influenced him through the years. And it's real bass driven. It's cool. Oh, don't listen to me. Don't listen to my description. Just take a listen to Salt House Lavish. Put that in your ear holes. It'll make you happy. It'll lower your blood pressure, make you feel good. I can almost guarantee it. Now, if you're actually on blood pressure medicine, I urge you to continue to listen to your physician. Salt House Lavish, even though it's led by Dr. Lav, he's not a medical doctor. But he will feed your soul. Yeah, he's also a chef. You see? He will feed your soul with his good music. Thank you so much, Dr. Lav, Salt House Lavish, for being on the program, What Makes You Famous. Now, I'm turning my attention to you, would like to tell your story, I encourage you to give me a call, 501-470-6386, or email info@radiowhat.com. That's it for me. It's Keys Dan, radiowhat.com, djlittlerock.com. Peace. I'm out of here.